Now I know what you're thinking, but Ragical, we've done the vacuum bit for a bit back. But hey, it's just I remember this Flurf Morgillion or the Morgile? I don't know how to say his name, it's a weird name. But he did upload something that didn't smell. Because in space, no one can hear you fart. And that's why I flirt you fucking... Ah yes, the mysteries of the space vacuum. You know, that lack of stuff lingering near the edge of spooky space. Oh, no. Let's calm down here for a moment. I mean, Flurfs never seem to understand what the fuck is going on here, and, Hey, I see you lurking there. Well, that's a thing. That's gonna be a thing. Of course it's gonna be a thing. Desertphile, man. I love that guy. Anyway, we are going to be sucked into the Morgile's vacuum of dipshittery.
Correction, sir. That's blown out.
What's up, everybody? John the Morgile here.
Ah, there we go. The Morgile. I was right at one of those things I said.
Debating globetards.
Oh, of course, he's one of those. You know what? I prefer the term ballhead. Although I do have a serious case of spiffy horns. But that's beside the point. Do go on.
And in this episode, we're going to discuss...
Oh, it's an episode, alright, but not the definition you think it is.
Well, we'll say gravity in the atmosphere, or the theory of gravity and how it pertains to the atmosphere, because, you know, from the normie globe-tarded worldview, you must believe that the Earth is a spinning ball in the vacuum of outer space.
Well, I'd replace the word believe with something along the lines of, hey, look, reality wants a word with you.
And of course, the vacuum of outer space is, well, pretty much non-defined, but it's also non-definable. It's essentially infinite, right, according to our terms. Like, you can't even, people. You can't even. Okay, Google. Define the vacuum of space.
According to Britannica, vacuum, space in which there is no matter or in which the pressure is so low that any particles in the space do not affect any processes being carried on there.
No! Oh, strange. Almost as if there is a descriptive definition.
Well, Ragical the Morgile is a bit of a dick flute.
Damn straight.
Damn straight indeed.
Spiffy, I'll see you around.
You know where to find me.
Understand or fathom what a light year is, let alone what millions of light years are, so it's all this theoretical, essentially infinite vacuum.
While it might be really hard to imagine how big space actually is, the scale doesn't mean it's impossible to do so. I mean, hundreds of years or even thousands of years is in the same category of hard to imagine, but it is possible. But then again, Flurfs are scared of big numbers. They always have... It's another scale issue, isn't it? How quaint!
And the problem is that here on the ground in reality we have pressurized atmosphere.
Well, let me correct you real quick there. It's a pressure gradient. And let me instantly apologize, because I know your short attention span was much shorter than actually the sound I just made. So it's a pressure gradient.
In fact, the air pressure at sea level is about 14.7 pounds per square inch. And the higher up in elevation you get, there is a gradient. So the pressure decreases proportionally with your altitude above sea level.
Huh, neat. So we're done here. We're not done here. I know we're not done here. He just explained it as a pressure gradient, but hey, where is he going with this? He's gonna go with a pressurized system, needing a container. You know, these guys are predictable. It's kind of their thing. So in a way, a Flurf is a scientific experiment. They are testable, they always repeat their shit, you can predict what they say, although what they say isn't always quantifiable or measurable. So in a way they are a failed experiment. Imagine that.
However, when you get to a certain point, there's what's called the Kármán line.
Ah, so we are done here.
And it's sort of a theoretical point in space where the atmosphere ends and space begins.
Uh-huh. Except I saw you sneak in the theoretical word there. It's not theoretical, we have actually measured it, so no. Mostly yes, partially no. And just for reference, in science, theoretical has a completely different meaning. But you are using a common meaning.
And essentially what the globe earther's position is that you have this gradient that goes all the way up to basically nothing, and then at some point you have a vacuum, and what differentiates between the infinite vacuum of space and our atmosphere is essentially the theory of gravity.
Huh? The theory of gravity has nothing to do with the boundary line of the Kármán line. What are you going on about? The pressure gradient is merely a side effect or a result of gravity, but it isn't the theory of gravity. Why are you guys always so, ice skating around the subject? It's like you try to sneak in some kind of things into your brain farts to make it sound more interesting and less smelly. I mean, I understand you guys like to play word games, but those word games are instantly dismissible. So, there's that. Might be a fun game, but it is still a fruitless game. And hey, I'll let you in on something. It's not even that fun of a game. It's kind of, semantics of words and definitions, which have been thoroughly defined, but somehow you put your flurf ooze on it and make it all slippery. And that is not our fault. That is your dishonesty at work. So, I don't know. You want a sticker? Oh, let me know in the chat if he needs a sticker, because, he's a special kind of flurf who, does the original old-school flurfing style. I mean, he is one of the originals. And for those of you who are not part of the, premiere here, there's a comment section. Go right ahead and do something in there. It sounds really dismissive. Nah, I love you guys. Leave me a comment and I'll give you my heart.
The theory of gravity, because we know that the theory of gravity solves everything according to the globe, right? That's their answer to everything.
Well, it really isn't the answer to everything. But I really fail to see how having an answer that actually explains something being used in a variety of ways is somehow your evidence that it is fake or made up. That in and of itself doesn't make any sense. I mean, why? Why is that a problem? The pressure gradient is easily explained by gravity. Things falling down in a vacuum chamber is easily explained by gravity. Balloons, now stay with me here because I'm gonna blow your mind. Balloons going up is easily explained by gravity because the air surrounding the balloon, in this case a hot air balloon or a helium balloon, pushing up the balloon until it reaches a certain equilibrium of the pressure inside and outside the balloon being equal. I mean, just because you don't like the word gravity doesn't mean it's not gravity. Right, Desertphile? Quite. It goes without saying.
But of course, when you mention to the Globetard that you cannot have a pressurized environment exist within a vacuum unless there is a solid structure separating the two areas.
Bull fucking shit!
Well, I do believe the official term is horseshit, but hey, besides that, a pressure gradient relates to a similar substance, in this case air, and having a pressure gradient within a container that is not within a gravitational field is physically impossible. Now, let's take for instance a spray can of paint. There is a gradient in those cans, which is why you need to shake them like you just don't care. However, this is not a pressure gradient. It is a density gradient, because all the different materials inside the paint will eventually separate into their respective densities and need to be mixed together to get out your spiffy paint. An even more obvious example would be a glass of water mixed with oil. If you leave it to rest for a bit, eventually both substances will separate themselves into their own respective pressure gradient layers based on their density. Similar to the ocean and the air, for example. Maybe a more direct comparison is when we have an oil disaster. And all you flurfs are doing this deliberate conflation of these 2 points. Ironically mixing density gradient with pressure gradient. Now, how hard was that to understand, you utter dick flute? I mean, you flirts can keep repeating and, parroting the same points over and over again, but that's all you do. And you know the age-old saying, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
I feel so much better, now I need a cigarette.
Well, we don't kink shame around here.
Right, so nowhere in nature can you demonstrate a low-pressure system or a vacuum housing some pressurized system within it, right? So let's say you have a balloon filled with air and put it inside a vacuum chamber. If you pop that balloon, then the gases inside that balloon will immediately expand to fill the chamber evenly.
Yep, and that's only because there's no other substance in the vacuum, depending on the quality of the vacuum chamber, of course, to separate into density layers. However, given enough time, you can detect a difference in pressure at the top and the bottom of the vacuum chamber because it is within the gravitational field of the Earth. Now, mind you, you need a decently sized vacuum chamber for that, because if you have a tiny vacuum chamber, the pressure is, well, almost not detectable. If you'd be able to do this out of reach of an external gravitational field or microgravity, you would see an evenly distributed pressure of air. But yeah, the mere fact we have the pressure gradient, I keep repeating myself. And what did I just say? Now the bloody saying of doing things over and over again, expecting different results, is applicable to me. Flurfs are gonna flurf.
That's how gases work, and that's how the atmosphere should technically work if the infinite space is supposedly this near perfect vacuum. And debating with people who believe that the Earth is a spinning ball in outer space is practically impossible, because you're debating with someone who believes necessarily that the impossible is a necessary truth.
It's really amazing seeing your mind at work. So basically, reality tells us we have a pressure gradient, which you also admitted we have, when in fact, in the absence of gravity, which you guys outright deny exists, the pressure of air should be evenly distributed within the container of the Earth, which you just said is a thing. There needs to be a barrier. What is it? The firmament? Are you going on about the firmament? But yeah, in short, this pressure gradient could not exist without gravity. Heck, even the separated density layers shouldn't be able to exist without gravity. Now, mind you, water and oil do separate, but they separate in tiny little balls if that were the case without gravity. Because both molecules like to be with each other. You know, it's like an inseparable couple. Oil likes to be with oil, water likes to be with water. But what do we see on the planet? We see density layers.
And again, the impossible thing would be a pressurized system existing within a vacuum without some structure separating the two.
And there's the structure. You know, it's kind of weird that we have higher pressure at the bottom of the layer of air and less pressure at the top of the layer of the air on the planet. So, you know, eventually it goes into a vacuum. That is...
Gravity! Have you ever heard of fucking gravity?
You knew I was gonna use it.
Now, this isn't to say that there is necessarily some solid dome separating the infinite vacuum of space from our atmosphere. This is to say that there is no infinite vacuum of space.
Alright, let's play a different game, you numpty. There's something called an air mass calculation in astronomy. Basically what it means is the amount of air one is looking through. When an object is at zenith, or straight up at a 90-degree angle, this air mass value is 1 and goes all the way up to around 38 near the horizon. However, it is possible to get an air mass value below 1 when going to an elevated area well above sea level. I'll throw an air mass calculator in the description to play around with, but that does indicate the objects we see in space are within a vacuum.
And, if you want to believe in some solid dome, that's fine. Perhaps there is, perhaps there isn't, but what we can say for sure is that the heliocentric sort of ball Earth theory fails to account for observable, testable reality, and you must believe in a complete impossibility yet again, which these things are all over the place with the ball Earth theory. But you must believe such physically impossible things as this in order to continue believing in the ball.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes there, TheMorgile. Also, if there is a dome in the way, how exactly are we able to bounce light of the retroreflectors left on the moon, which take about 2 seconds to come back, 384,400 kilometers away from us, which is approximately 240,000 miles. But yeah, that wouldn't be possible if there is something in the way. Not to mention you lot actually think the moon is tiny and very close, like, 3,000 miles away?
And again, trying to debate someone who is of that mindset is practically impossible, because it's like debating, a 5-year-old about Santa Claus, right? I mean...
Wow, the projection is off the charts. Also, you leave 5 years old alone, mate. Don't tell them, the thing. Huh? Leave them be. They'll figure it out on their own when they're old enough. But for now, shut your mouth. And if you're gonna say something, about it, I'm gonna cut it out.
As long as you believe, then there is no debate.
And as I predicted, you are a bit of a dick flute, aren't you?
As long as you believe in such ridiculous things, then your mind is not capable of rational thought, and therefore any sort of debate is just going to be the programmed responses that we were all subjected to, which is to basically attack and...
Yeah, like I said, the prediction is off the chart, but hey, the programmed responses, it sounds a bit like a video I did very early on this YouTube channel. And just to piss them off, I'm going to leave it at 6 problems, because 7 is according to them a holy number, while 6 is quite the opposite. 3 6s in a row would be a bloody bingo, because somehow numbers are magic. I mean, this is basically the type of people we're dealing with.
You know, ridicule the person who is trying to say something other than what was deemed doctrine in the textbooks of scientism.
No. We ridicule you lot because you are basically science deniers. We show you the evidence, and what happens? You jump off a cliff and experience gravity, ironically.
Right. So there's that. This was a short one, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out, everybody.
Oh, what the hell? Did he just do my outro? What the hell is happening here? So, TheMorgile. I sentence you to become a jester in the Order of the Sillies. I do hope you enjoy your stay. And as usual, remember to tickle the bell and all buttons around it. And if you want to support my work, I mostly buy, turtle wax and shit. There's all kinds of links in the description. You can tickle those as well. And on that note, I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye. You know, Ragical, if you keep shilling yourself like that, you're gonna be a part of the Order of the Sillies.